The bathroom door moved. Just an inch. Then another. Ethan Carter stood frozen in the middle of room 12, staring at the handle slowly turning by itself. Behind him, Claire held Noah tightly against her. Lily stood near the wall, her eyes fixed on the bathroom door. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. The rain battered the window. Then the handle stopped. For several seconds there was nothing, then a voice whispered, "Ethan." His face changed. Claire noticed what? Ethan didn't answer. The voice came again, "Ethan, please." This time it was louder. And it wasn't coming from the bathroom. It was coming from the walls. Claire grabbed his arm. "Ethan, don't." He looked at her. "I know that voice." "Whose voice?" Ethan stared at the wall. "My mother's." Claire's expression changed. "Your mother died 12 years ago." "I know." Another whisper, "Ethan." He slowly stepped toward the wall. "Mom." The whisper answered, "Please let me out." Ethan reached for the bathroom door. Claire pulled him back. "Don't open it." He looked at her. "What if she's in there?" "She isn't." "How do you know?" "Because your mother is dead." The bathroom door suddenly slammed open. Everyone screamed. The room fell silent. The bathroom was empty. No person. No shadow, nothing. Ethan stepped inside. The shower curtain was still. The sink was dry. The bathtub was empty. Then he noticed something on the floor, water. A small puddle had formed beside the wall. Ethan crouched down. He touched it ice cold. Claire stood behind him. Where did that come from? Ethan slowly looked up. The water wasn't coming from the bathroom. It was coming through the wall. They didn't sleep that night. The four of them stayed together on the beds while the television hissed with static. Every few minutes, the screen briefly showed something that wasn't a television program. A hallway, a door, a face. Then static again. At 3:17 in the morning, Noah finally fell asleep. Lily sat beside her mother. "Mom." Claire looked over. "What? Why is Dad so scared?" Claire glanced across the room. Ethan was sitting in a chair beside the window. He hadn't moved for almost an hour. "I don't know." Lily stared at him. "Yes, you do." Claire sighed. "Your father doesn't like talking about his childhood. Why?" "I don't know." Lily looked toward the bathroom. "Maybe the motel knows something about him." Claire didn't answer, because she had been thinking the exact same thing. Morning came without sunlight. The sky remained gray. Ethan walked into the motel office. The old clerk was sitting behind the desk. He was reading the same leather-bound register from the night before. He didn't look up. "Good morning, Mr. Carter." Ethan stopped. "How do you know my name?" The clerk slowly raised his eyes. "You signed the register." "I never gave you my name." The clerk smiled. "You didn't have to." Ethan walked toward the desk. "What is this place?" The motel stopped. The smile disappeared. "I want a car." "You won't need it. We're leaving." The clerk looked at him for a long moment. Then he said quietly, "You should leave before room 12 learns more about you." Ethan's expression hardened. "What does that mean?" The clerk closed the register. "Room 12 doesn't show people what they fear." He leaned closer. "It shows them what they miss." Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. "What the hell does that mean?" The clerk smiled again. "You'll find out." Ethan returned to room 12. Claire was already packing. "We're leaving." Ethan nodded, "Good." Lily grabbed her backpack. Noah picked up his stuffed bear. They were almost ready when Noah disappeared into the bathroom. A moment later, he called out, "Dad." Ethan turned. "What?" "I found something." Noah walked out holding an old photograph. Ethan took it from him. The photograph was faded and yellow with age. It showed room 12. The same two beds. The same television. The same crooked painting. Ethan turned it over. There was writing on the back. October 14, 1987. Below the date were 4 names. Ethan's face went pale. Claire took the photograph. "What is it?" Ethan couldn't answer. Lily looked over her mother's shoulder. Then she froze. The photograph showed a family standing inside room 12, a father, a mother, a teenage girl, a little boy. They looked exactly like the Carter family. Same positions, same expressions. Even Noah's stuffed bear appeared in the photograph. Lily whispered, "That's us." Claire shook her head, "No." She looked closer. "That's impossible." Ethan stared at the little boy in the photograph. Then at Noah. The boy was wearing the same yellow jacket. The same stuffed bear. Everything. Noah looked at his father, "Dad." Ethan dropped the photograph. They ran. The family hurried outside and crossed the parking lot. Ethan reached the place where their SUV had been parked. Nothing. No vehicle. No tire tracks, nothing. Claire stared at the empty space. "Where's the car?" Ethan looked around. "I don't know. You said you locked it." "I did." Lily looked toward the motel. "Maybe somebody stole it." Ethan shook his head. There would have been tire tracks. Noah looked at the motel. Maybe the motel took it. Everyone turned toward him. "What?" Noah shrugged. "I don't know." Then the motel office door opened. The old clerk stepped outside. "You can't leave yet." Ethan walked toward him. "You took our vehicle." The clerk shook his head. "No." He looked toward room 12. "The motel did." Ethan clenched his fists. "Then tell it to give it back." The clerk's expression became strangely sad. "It doesn't work that way." "What does it want?" The clerk didn't answer. Claire stepped forward. "What do you mean it?" The old man looked at her. Then at Lily. Then Noah. Finally, he looked at Ethan. "Room 12 has been waiting for your family for a very long time." They returned to the room. Ethan didn't want to, but there was nowhere else to go. Inside, something had changed. Claire noticed it first. The painting. The forest painting that had been hanging crooked was now perfectly straight. Ethan walked toward it. He lifted it from the wall. Behind it were words carved into the plaster. 4 words. "We never left." Lily stared. "What does that mean?" Ethan ran his fingers over the letters. "I don't know." Claire looked at him. "You're lying." Ethan turned. "What?" "You've been acting like you know more than you're telling us." "I don't." "Then why did you recognize the voice last night?" Ethan didn't answer. Claire's voice softened. "Ethan." He looked down. "My mother used to talk to me through the walls." Everyone went silent. "When I was a kid," he continued, "my father would get angry. Sometimes he'd lock himself in his room. My mother would hide me in the hallway closet." Lily listened carefully. "She'd whisper to me through the wall." Ethan swallowed. "She'd tell me everything was going to be okay." Claire stepped closer. "And what happened?" "She disappeared when?" "I was 10. Where did she go?" Ethan looked at the carved words. "I was told she left." Lily whispered, "But you don't believe that, no." Ethan looked toward the bathroom. "I never have." Then came the whisper, Ethan. Everyone heard it. This time, the voice came from behind the wall. Claire grabbed Ethan's hand. The voice whispered again. I'm still here. That night, Lily couldn't sleep. She opened her eyes. The room was dark. Her parents were asleep. Noah was curled beneath the blanket, clutching his stuffed bear. Then she heard it. A faint scratching sound. Under her bed, scratch, scratch, scratch. Lily slowly sat up. She stared at the floor. The scratching stopped. Then a child's voice whispered, Lily. She froze. Who's there? Silence then, Lily. She slowly leaned over the edge of the bed. Something moved underneath. A small hand reached into the darkness. Lily screamed. Ethan jumped awake. Claire turned on the lamp. What happened? Lily pointed beneath the bed. There was a hand. Ethan dropped to his knees and looked underneath. Nothing. Only dust. Claire pulled Lily into her arms. You're okay. Lily shook her head, no. She pointed toward the opposite side of the room. There. Everyone looked. Something was sitting on the floor. A stuffed bear, old, dirty. Its fur was stained nearly black. Noah slowly sat up. His eyes widened. That's my bear. Claire looked at the bear in his arms. Then at the one on the floor, Noah. He stared at it. I had one just like that when I was little. Claire frowned. You're still little. Noah looked confused, I know. Ethan walked toward the old bear. He picked it up. Something was written underneath one of its paws, a name. Noah Carter. Ethan dropped it. The next morning, Ethan searched the room. He pulled out drawers, moved furniture, checked the closets. Finally, he noticed something behind the dresser. A piece of wallpaper had been torn. He pulled it away. Behind it was a narrow space inside the wall. And inside that space, a list, names. Hundreds of them. Each name had a date beside it. Some dates were decades old. Ethan began reading. Then he reached the bottom. There were 4 names, written in fresh black ink. Ethan Carter, Claire Carter, Lily Carter, Noah Carter. Beside them was today's date. Ethan's breathing stopped. Claire came up behind him. What is it? He moved aside. She read the names. Her face went pale. The motel wasn't keeping a record of guests who had stayed there. It was keeping a record of people it had chosen. That afternoon, Ethan returned to the office. The clerk was waiting. You knew. The old man didn't respond. You knew what room 12 would do, yes. You knew it would show us things, yes. You knew about my mother. The clerk looked up, no. Ethan stepped closer. Then why does it know her voice? The clerk's expression changed. Because it doesn't know your mother. Ethan stared at him. Then what is it? The clerk looked toward the hallway. Something that knows what you want to hear. Ethan's anger disappeared. What happens if we stay? The clerk didn't answer. What happens if we leave? The old man finally looked directly at him. You can't. Ethan leaned forward. Why? The clerk whispered, because you already checked out. Ethan frowned. What? The clerk pointed toward the register. Ethan walked around the desk. There, beside their names, was a handwritten notation. Checked out 3:17 a.m. Ethan stared. We never checked out. The clerk shook his head. I know. Then who did? The clerk looked frightened. For the first time since Ethan had met him. The old man's hands were shaking. I don't know. A sound came from the hallway. A door opening. The clerk slowly looked toward it. Ethan followed his gaze. At the end of the hallway stood a door. A door that hadn't been there before. Its paint was peeling. Its brass number was tarnished. 13 Claire appeared behind Ethan. What is that? The clerk stood. His face had gone completely pale. That's impossible. Ethan stepped toward the hallway. Why? The clerk grabbed his arm. Because room 13 has been sealed for 37 years. From behind the door came a faint sound. A child crying. Ethan pulled free. Who's in there? The crying stopped. Silence. Then a small voice whispered through the door. Mom. Claire froze. Her face drained of color. Because the voice sounded exactly like Noah. She turned toward her son. Noah was standing beside Lily at the other end of the hallway. His eyes were wide. His stuffed bear was pressed against his chest. Then the voice came again. Mom. This time, it came from inside room 13. Noah whispered, "That's not me." The door slowly opened, an inch, then two. The lights flickered. The clerk backed away. Don't open it. Ethan stared into the darkness. Something moved inside. A small silhouette, a child. Then another voice whispered from the room. Ethan's voice, Dad. Ethan stopped breathing. The silhouette stepped closer. And suddenly, the hallway lights went out. To be continued.